It was a quiet evening in Ian's small town. The sun had already gone down, and the sky was turning dark blue. Most people were inside their homes, eating dinner or watching TV. The streets were almost empty. Only a few cars passed by now and then. It looked like a normal night, but something very strange was about to happen. Ian was sitting outside his small house. He was tired after a long day at work. His clothes were dusty, and his hands were rough from lifting boxes. But he still sat outside because the cool air felt nice after the hot day. He closed his eyes for a moment and breathed slowly. Then, suddenly, he heard a sound. At first, it was soft. Like a distant humming. Ian opened his eyes and looked around. There was nothing unusual. But the sound started getting louder. It wasn't a car. It wasn't a truck. It was something else. Ian stood up and walked forward. The sound was now stronger, like many engines running at the same time. Almost like a storm made of machines. His heart began to beat a little faster. He looked down the street, trying to see what was coming. Within a few seconds, the whole neighborhood started hearing it too. Dogs began barking. Lights turned on in nearby houses. People stepped out of their doors, confused. Some kids ran to their parents. Everyone looked in the same direction. The sound kept growing. Arrrrrrr. 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 It felt like hundreds of motorcycles were coming toward the street. Ian frowned. Why would so many bikers come here, he thought. I live in a small street, nothing special here. Then another strange thing happened. The ground started shaking. Not like an earthquake, but like heavy weight moving fast. Ian swallowed hard. He felt something cold in his stomach, a mix of fear and curiosity. Soon he saw the first light, headlights. Then another, and another. A long line of bright white lights appeared from the main road. They were moving like a river of fire. And then he saw them clearly. Motorcycles. Not 10. Not 20. Hundreds. Ian's eyes widened. This cannot be real, he whispered. The bikers were riding in perfect formation, side by side, row after row. Their engines growled so loudly that windows started shaking. Ian felt the vibrations in his chest. The sound filled the entire street. People stepped back. Some hid behind their gates. Others peeked from their windows. No one understood what was happening. But Ian knew one thing. They were coming straight toward his house. The front riders slowed down. The others followed, creating a massive wall of motorcycles. They filled the whole street until there was no space left. More than 500 bikers, all stopping in front of one small house. Ian's house. Ian froze. His heartbeat was quick. His hands were shaking a little. He had never seen anything like this in his life. He didn't know anyone who rode a bike. He had never talked to any biker group. He had no idea what they wanted. His mother came out of the house, scared. Ian, what is happening? She asked softly. I don't know, he whispered. The bikers turned off their engines one by one. The street became silent, but a heavy silence, the kind that makes your skin crawl. Then the leader stepped forward. He was tall, strong, and wore a black leather jacket. His helmet covered his face. Every other biker stood still, like soldiers waiting for an order. Ian felt like the whole world had stopped moving. The leader walked closer to him. Slow, steady steps. Then he removed his helmet. His eyes were sharp, his face serious. Everyone watched. He pointed at Ian. Are you Ian? He asked in a deep voice. Ian slowly nodded. The leader looked back at the group and said loudly. Boys, we found him. The whole street gasped. Ian felt his heart drop. He had no idea why these 500 bikers had come to find him. But something he did earlier that day, something small and kind, was about to change everything. Hours before the bikers arrived, Ian's day had started like any other, simple, hard, and quiet. He woke up early, before the sun came up, because his small house got very hot during the day. His mother was already awake, boiling tea on their old stove. The smell of tea filled the tiny room. "Ian, drink this before you go," she said softly. Ian smiled, took the cup, and sat near her. He loved these simple mornings. They had no luxury, no comfort, but they had each other. Ian was only 17, but life had already taught him many lessons: how to survive with little, how to work hard, and most importantly, how to stay kind even when the world was not. After breakfast, he walked to the small store where he worked part-time. The store owner, Mr. Salim, was strict but fair. Ian carried boxes, cleaned shelves, and helped customers. His hands were always busy, and his feet always tired. But he never complained. He needed the money. His mother worked at a sewing shop, but her income was not enough. He dreamed of a better life, but dreams felt far away. Still, he kept going. By afternoon, his shirt was soaked with sweat. He wiped his face with his sleeve and took a small break outside the store. He had only a little money in his pocket, just enough to buy some cheap snacks for the evening. When his shift ended, he walked toward the supermarket near the main road. The place was always crowded. People rushed in and out, pushing shopping carts, talking loudly, complaining about prices. Ian didn't enjoy the noise, but he came because snacks were cheaper here. He entered the store and walked straight toward the discount section. He picked a small packet of biscuits and a juice box, checking the price twice. He was careful with every coin. As he walked toward the checkout line, he noticed something unusual. An old lady was standing at the front counter. Her clothes were clean but old. Her hands trembled as she searched through her purse. She looked confused, almost lost. The cashier tapped the counter impatiently. "Ma'am, do you have the money or not?" the cashier said in a tired voice. People behind her started sighing loudly. One man muttered, "Some people waste everyone's time." The old lady lowered her head. I thought I had enough," she whispered. Ian saw her groceries, simple items, bread, milk, a few vegetables. Nothing expensive. Nothing extra. The cashier shook his head and said, "Please step aside if you can't pay." The old lady looked around helplessly. Her eyes were watery. She didn't know what to do. Ian felt something in his heart. A small pull. A soft voice inside him saying, "Help her." He looked at his biscuits and juice. He had saved money the whole week for this small treat. But the old lady needed help more than he needed snacks. Without thinking too much, he stepped forward. "Excuse me," he said gently. "I will pay for her." The entire line turned toward him. Some people looked surprised. Some smiled a little. The cashier raised an eyebrow. "You will pay?" he asked. Ian nodded. "Yes." The old lady stared at him. "Oh no, child. I don't want to trouble you." "It's okay, ma'am," Ian said softly. "It's just groceries." He handed the money to the cashier. It was almost all he had. The cashier shrugged and completed the bill. The old lady picked up her bags, still shaking, still shocked. She turned to Ian and placed her hand on his arm. "You are a good boy," she whispered. "But you don't know who I am." Ian smiled politely. He didn't understand what she meant, but he didn't think it was important. The old lady leaned closer and said something even stranger. "You helped me today. Life will help you soon. Very soon." Ian didn't ask questions. He just nodded, lifted one of her bags, and walked her to the bus stop. When she sat down on the bench, she held his hand again. "I will never forget this," she said with emotion in her voice. Ian smiled, wished her well, and walked away, completely unaware that this small act of kindness would return to him in the biggest, most unexpected way. And by night, 500 bikers would be at his door. After leaving the old lady at the bus stop, Ian walked home slowly. The sun was setting, and the air felt a little cooler now. His feet hurt from the long shift at work, and his stomach made small noises because he had not eaten much. But still, his heart felt light. Helping the old lady had brought a strange kind of peace to him. A warm feeling. Something he couldn't explain. He didn't know her name. He didn't know her story. He didn't know why she said those strange words. But he knew she needed help, and that was enough for him. As he walked through the busy market street, he heard the sound of people bargaining, shopkeepers calling out prices, and kids laughing. He looked at the snack stall where he usually went every evening. He stopped for a moment, thinking maybe he could still buy something small for himself. But when he checked his pocket, he remembered, he had spent almost everything on the old lady's groceries. He smiled to himself. "It's okay," he whispered. She needed it more. He walked past the stall without stopping. When Ian reached home, his mother was sitting on the floor sewing clothes. She looked up and smiled softly. "You're late today. Everything okay?" she asked. "Yes, Mama. Just a long shift," he replied. He didn't tell her about the old lady. He didn't think it was important enough to share. To him, it was just a simple act. Something anyone should do. He washed his face, changed his shirt, and sat beside his mother. She offered him some leftover rice and lentils. He ate quietly, thinking about the old lady's words. "You don't know who I am, life will help you soon." What did she mean? Why did she say that? Ian tried to forget it, but the sentence kept echoing in his mind. Later that evening, after dinner, Ian stepped outside. The sky was dark now, and the stars were shining brightly. He liked sitting outside because it helped him relax. He could hear the distant sounds of traffic from the main road, mixed with the soft breeze moving through the trees. He had barely sat down when his phone buzzed. Ian frowned. He didn't get many messages. Usually, it was only his manager or sometimes a cousin inviting him to play cricket. But this message was from an unknown number. He opened it curiously. "Thank you for helping her. Stay home tonight." Ian stared at the screen. His eyebrows slowly pulled together. "What is this? Who is sending this?" he whispered. He looked around, wondering if someone was playing a joke. The street was quiet. Nothing unusual. The message seemed real, not like some silly prank. He typed back. "Who is this?" No reply. Ian locked his phone and slipped it back into his pocket, but his heart felt uneasy. Something didn't feel right. He walked inside and checked the doors, making sure everything was locked. His mother noticed his nervous face. "Ian, is something wrong?" she asked. He shook his head quickly. No, everything is fine, Mama." He didn't want her to worry. But deep inside, Ian felt like something big was coming. Something he wasn't ready for. He stepped outside again, trying to calm his thoughts. He sat on the old wooden chair near the front door. The air felt heavier now, like it was hiding a secret. Minutes passed. Then half an hour. Then almost an hour. And then, it started. At first, it was the same soft sound he had heard earlier that day, like distant humming. But this time, the sound grew faster, stronger, and louder every second. Ian stood up quickly. "No, this can't be happening again," he whispered. But it was happening. The noise turned into a thunderous roar. The ground vibrated. Birds flew off trees. Street dogs ran around in panic. Ian's heart began beating wildly. He ran to the gate and looked toward the main road. And there he saw it. A long line of lights. Hundreds of motorcycles. Riding fast. Riding together. Coming directly toward his house. Ian felt a chill run down his spine. The old lady's words. The strange message. The growing noise. Everything started to make sense, but only a little. He had no idea that paying for a stranger's groceries earlier that day had started something much bigger, something that was now racing toward him on 500 motorcycles. The roaring sound grew larger and larger, filling every corner of the street. Ian stood frozen near the gate, his eyes wide and his breath uneven. It felt like the entire world had suddenly awakened. Lights flickered in the houses nearby as people peeked outside, whispering, confused and scared. Even the street dogs stopped barking, they simply watched silently, as if they sensed something unusual. Ian felt his heart pounding hard inside his chest. What is happening? Why me? He whispered. The long line of motorcycle lights moved closer, shining brightly through the dusty night air. The engines growled like angry beasts. Their sound echoed off the buildings and bounced back into the night sky. Ian felt the vibration under his feet as if the ground itself was trembling. He took a step back. His mother came out again, worry on her face. Ian, why are there so many bikers? Do you know them? She asked. He shook his head quickly. No, Mama. I don't know anything. But deep inside, he remembered the strange text message. Stay home tonight. Whoever sent that message, knew something. Knew this was going to happen. A chill ran down Ian's spine. The loud engines suddenly slowed down. One by one, the bikers stopped in front of the small street, forming a massive wall of steel and headlights. More than 500 motorcycles filled the entire road, blocking every exit. Their engines turned off, leaving a heavy silence behind. It was the kind of silence that makes your skin cold, the kind that feels dangerous. Only the clicking sound of cooling engines filled the air. Ian looked at them, men and women wearing heavy jackets, gloves, helmets with dark visors. They looked like a giant army. It was impossible to read their expressions. Impossible to know their intentions. The first row of bikers moved aside, creating a path. A tall biker stepped forward. Ian recognized him, the same leader from earlier. The same man who asked for his name. The same man who spoke in that deep, serious voice. But this time, something felt different. The leader stopped just a few steps away from Ian. He removed his helmet slowly. His eyes were sharp, but not angry. His face was calm but strong. Ian's mother held onto his arm tightly. Why are they here? What do they want? She asked softly. I don't know, Mama, but I think they want me, Ian replied, trying to stay calm. The leader spoke. You must be confused, he said. But we did not come here to harm you. Ian didn't speak. He simply waited, unsure of what to believe. The leader continued, we came because of what you did today. Ian blinked. What I did, he repeated. Yes, the leader said firmly. You helped someone. Someone very important to us. The words hit Ian like a wave, but he didn't understand them fully. His mind raced back to the old lady at the supermarket. Could it be her? The leader reached into his jacket and pulled out a small folded paper. He handed it to Ian. Ian opened it slowly. It was the same bill from the supermarket, the grocery receipt. But on the back, there was a handwritten message. Thank you for helping me. Your kindness will come back to you. Ian recognized the handwriting. It was the old lady's. His heart skipped a beat. She told us everything, the leader said. She told us how you stepped in when others ignored her. How you used your own small savings to help her. Ian looked up, confused. But, Why would that matter so much? He asked. The leader took a deep breath. Because she is not just an old lady. She is our mother, our family. And she means the world to us. Ian felt the world tilt. The old woman, the gentle lady he helped, was connected to this massive biker community. He couldn't understand how something so small, something so simple, had turned into something so big. The leader stepped even closer. She sent us here, he said. To repay your kindness. Ian swallowed hard. Repay? Why? I didn't do anything special. The leader shook his head slowly. In a world full of people who walk past others suffering, you stopped. You cared. You acted. That is special. The bikers behind him nodded, some raising their fists in respect. Ian felt overwhelmed. He had never imagined that buying groceries could lead to this. Then the leader said something that made Ian's heart shake. And tonight, you will see exactly how much your kindness means. Ian stood quietly, holding the small receipt in his hand. His fingers trembled as he read the old lady's handwriting again and again. The street around him was filled with bikers, headlights glowing, leather jackets shining under the streetlights. It felt unreal, almost like a dream he couldn't wake from. His mother held his shoulder tightly, her eyes filled with fear and confusion. The leader stepped back and raised his hand. Instantly, all 500 bikers stood straighter, as if waiting for an order. The discipline and unity surprised Ian. They weren't just a random group, they were a family, a brotherhood. The leader turned to the crowd and shouted. Brothers, this is the boy who helped our mother. A wave of cheers and engine revs filled the air. The sound was powerful, almost overwhelming. Ian flinched at the noise, but he also felt something strange, respect. These bikers weren't here to scare him. They were here because of gratitude. The leader looked at Ian again. She told us you were kind, but she didn't tell us you were this young. Ian swallowed. I didn't do anything big, he said softly. The leader smiled slightly. Sometimes the smallest actions have the biggest meaning. Ian didn't know how to respond. His mother slowly stepped forward. Where is your mother now? She asked, her voice gentle. She is safe, the leader replied. Resting at home. But she wanted us to come here in her place. Ian lowered his eyes. But why so many of you? He asked quietly. He looked around again, hundreds of bikes, hundreds of people. The leader answered honestly, because she is not just our mother. She is the heart of our community. When she says something, we listen. Ian nodded slowly, but he still felt overwhelmed. He had never imagined his small act of kindness could reach so far. Suddenly, one of the bikers stepped forward holding a large black box. It was heavy, metal, and locked. He placed it on the ground in front of Ian. What is this? Ian whispered. The leader knelt down and opened the box. Inside were groceries, warm clothes, blankets, medicines, and even some envelopes. Ian couldn't believe his eyes. This is from all of us, the leader said. We collected it today. Every single biker here gave something. Ian's mother gasped softly. She had never seen so many things at once. Their house had always been so empty, so simple. Seeing this much help made her eyes fill with tears. But the leader wasn't done. Another biker came forward with another box, this one smaller, wooden, and carved beautifully. He opened it and revealed a stack of money, wrapped neatly in bundles. Ian stepped back in shock. No, I can't take this, he said quickly. Please, I didn't help her for money. We know, the leader said calmly. That is why you deserve it. Ian's voice cracked. But, this is too much. One of the older bikers stepped forward. His beard was gray, his eyes soft. Son, he said, our mother told us what you said to her. Someday someone help me too. We want to be that someone for you. Ian felt his throat tighten. He wiped his eyes quickly, trying not to cry in front of everyone. But tears still came, not from sadness, but from shock and gratefulness. His mother hugged him tightly. Ian, your kindness came back to you, she whispered. The leader put his hand on Ian's shoulder. You didn't just help our mother. You reminded us that kindness still exists in this world. That good people are still out there. All the bikers nodded. The silence that followed was warm, not heavy. Then the leader spoke again. We're not done yet. Ian looked up, confused. What do you mean? The leader smiled, a strong, proud smile. We came here for one more reason. A very important reason. Ian waited, his heart beating faster. The leader took a deep breath and said, Tonight, we are here to change your life. The words hit Ian hard, sending a wave of emotion through him. He had no idea what was coming next, but he knew it would be something big. Something life-changing. Ian stared at the leader, his mind spinning with questions. The air felt thick, filled with the smell of fuel, dust, and something else, expectation. 500 bikers stood silently behind their leader, their faces hidden behind helmets, but their presence powerful enough to shake the entire neighborhood. What do you mean, change my life? Ian asked, his voice shaking. The leader looked around, then turned his eyes back to Ian. Our mother told us everything about you, he began. She told us how you work hard every day, how you help your mother, how you survive with so little, yet give so much. Ian lowered his gaze. He wasn't used to someone talking about his struggles. He never complained. He never expected anything. He just tried to live honestly. The leader continued, kindness like yours is rare, Ian. Very rare. He raised his hand, giving a silent signal. Several bikers stepped forward carrying more boxes. The first box was filled with groceries, enough to last months. The second had winter jackets, shoes, and daily supplies. The third box had kitchen items Ian's mother never even dreamed of owning. His mother placed her hand over her mouth, unable to speak. Tears rolled down her cheeks, not from sadness but from shock. But then came the fourth box. It was heavy, wooden, and locked with a metal clasp. The leader opened it slowly. Inside were documents, papers, folders, and a small envelope with Ian's name written on it. Ian looked confused. What is all this? The leader lifted the papers. This, he said, is a full year of rent paid in your name. Ian's mother gasped loudly. No, this cannot be real. Ian felt his chest tighten. Their rent was the biggest burden they carried every month. The idea of it being paid for a whole year felt like a dream that didn't belong to them. But the leader wasn't finished. He handed Ian the envelope. Open it. Ian opened it carefully. Inside was a small card with handwritten words. For the boy who gave without counting the cost. With love, the mother you helped. Wrapped inside the card was a key, a brand new motorcycle key. Ian looked up, shocked. A bike? For me? No, I can't take this. But the leader smiled. You didn't ask for it. But you deserve it. It's not a gift, it is respect for your heart. The bikers around him nodded in agreement. Some tapped their helmets. Others raised their fists. They weren't showing pity, they were showing honor. Ian's mother wiped her tears and held her son's hand tightly. You have a good heart, Ian, this is why blessings find you, she whispered. The leader stepped closer. Ian, our mother told us something important. She said a person's true worth is not measured by money, but by how they treat others when no one is watching. Ian felt his eyes burn with tears. He had never heard such words spoken about him. He felt small, yet suddenly very seen. The leader took a deep breath and continued. She said you reminded her of her own sons when they were younger, bold, kind, and full of goodness. Ian looked down, overwhelmed. We want to honor her wish, the leader said. She asked us to give you something she always wanted for her own children. Ian looked up slowly. What is that? He asked softly. The leader placed his hand on Ian's shoulder and said, to never let life break your spirit. The bikers roared their engines in unison, a thunderous sound that filled the entire neighborhood. But this time, it wasn't frightening. It felt strong, warm, and protective, like a massive family cheering for him. Ian closed his eyes. He felt something inside him shift, hope. A strong, bright hope. He had no money, no special talent, no fancy things. Yet today, 500 bikers stood in front of his house, because he bought groceries for a stranger. A small act had created a wave. Ian looked at the leader and whispered. Thank you. For everything. The leader nodded. No, thank you. The bikers revved their engines one last time, filling the night with a powerful roar. Then, in perfect coordination, they drove away, leaving Ian and his mother standing with tears, gifts, and a new beginning. Ian looked at the sky. One thought filled his heart. One small kindness can change an entire life.